Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films, the third draft show. Draft is only a little over 2 weeks away, and look who I have with me right here. It is Mr. Yuri. How are you doing, Yuri? And Yuri, are you going to be with us, checking in and out during the draft itself? What's the schedule for the old Yuri? I didn't even ask.
Draft night, I will be unfortunately working. But day two and day three, I'm off. I can't say I'll be able to follow up my performance last year with a cowboy hat and a suit. Um, Unfortunately, the suit I wear now has too many identifying characteristics on it. Um, I do have a hat though, so maybe we could do something. I'll do something. Look, the draft is meant to be fun. We've spent all this time talking about the prospects, and you know me, I love a good draft night stream crashing.
Yeah, you're entertaining. That's why I keep you around. So, hey, Yuri does have some favorites, some hidden gems here that we're going to go over. He's got to get out of here in 45 minutes, so we're gonna rush through, not rush through, but we're gonna keep it moving here. Also, note on the draft board and draft schedule. I wanted to go through the end of the board and take players off the end of the board, add players to the board, as I said last week. Uh, Unfortunately, I didn't get to do that. I worked on the middle of the board because I'm going to be going on with Sarah and Bobby at the Vault on Wednesday, the second half of their show. They start at noon live every day, as you guys know. So I'll be on the second half of their show. I'll be going on with the Purple Rain Gang on Thursday. I'll be going on with Ken McCusick on Monday. So I really wanted to get the middle of the board hashed out before I mess with the end of it again. So I apologize for y'all that recommended names that I didn't review yet. So I apologize there. The day was in here bright and early with a let's go. I might even add an F to the middle of the day. LFG, man. Let's go. Terry Bull, the draft, the Dr. Draft here. I like that. Dr. Draft. Cosmonaut, old friend. What up, crew? Football is family. You know it for a fact. Heather, back in. Thank you, Heather. It's great seeing you. Hi, Jason and Yuri. Yeah, you don't have to say hi to Yuri. Yuri's just here. Yuri, I love you, bro. Love you, brother. And then Jeremiah W. Only have about 15 right now, anyway. Well, I hope you get to stick around and catch the whole draft. So it's beautiful. And Hoderi, back in, man. Hey, Jason, football's family. I appreciate you. So Yuri presented some prospects that he wanted to go over. So I'm going to bring right up. Let's jump right into it. Let's start from the beginning. Gray Zabel. Now, this is not a hidden gem. This is somebody who's probably going to go in the first round. And if not, he's going to hear his name called early day two. Yuri, I got him as the inside lineman number 3. I've been flipping back and forth between Zabel and Donovan Jones. Yuri, I can't figure out which one I like the best. Are you a Zabel guy? Are you a Donovan Jackson? Excuse me, I said Jones. Are you a Donovan Jackson guy? North Dakota State stud. Turned down the NIL money to stay and play at home at his home school. Wanted to play with his brother who went to school there, Yuri. His parents went there. So he turned down good money to stay at North Dakota State. For those wondering, well, why didn't he get an NIL deal? He did. He turned that down. Technically sound, high football IQ, positional flexibility. He was playing tackle there. He's probably going to move into guard or maybe even center if a team needs a center. Dominant Senior Bowl, Yuri. Checked off every competition level box there. As a matter of fact, Daniel Jeremiah during the combine mentioned Yuri dudes were calling him out by name to try to get reps against Gray Zabel because they wanted to make a name for themselves. That's like the highest compliment right there. The players themselves recognize Gray Zabel was the best at the Senior Bowl. And a quick anchor. People knock him for his strength, but he's really got good hip sync, boosts his strength, plus mobility. Yuri, Gray Zabel.
Yeah, so Donovan Jackson, one pinning them two against each other. Is your one SM Booker?
It is. It is.
Um, so the thing with me between those two and what separated them, and maybe I really think I messed up Donovan Jackson because the first game I watched was the worst one, which was the Penn State one, and I've gone back through and changed it a little bit, but I think Zabel's, to me, the obviously he's tall, he's taller, If projecting him inside, I don't see a lot of the time that he gets like contorted. Like I don't see a lot of the time where he loses leverage or he loses some of the reps I've seen with Jackson. And you brought look, I don't like comparing prospects. You brought up the comparison.
Hey, I was just having a hard time figuring out which one would I pick, which one deserves to be in front on a Ravens centric board, because I mean they like these big strong guys next to Linderbaum apparently, but Zabel positional flexibility like a McCary times two here. And you mentioned you don't see him get bullied. He's just so technically sound, and he's got that hip sync and everything else. So he plays stronger, bro. He plays strong.
Right, and to the point of the hip sync, pushing guys, like being able to contort defensive linemen out of the way in the gap, plus mobility. You can see him like work zone, a couple of screens too. You see him work downfield, and I watched him do a somersault over someone in a dog pile, and that always gets points when I'm watching someone. Like, hey, look, there goes something. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of him. I'm a little maybe too much of a fan. I do have him as my interior offensive line number one. I just think that, and I feel like, not to say that North Dakota State isn't a advanced football program, but in terms of weight room, I certainly think that the quote unquote grown man strength could come in an NFL weight room level, and then you have what the foundation is there fundamentally for him to very quickly in the next level stack good solid performances very quickly. At worst, he's your sixth offensive lineman who can come in and spot you and give you quality reps. Which sure, Patrick McCary was forced in the left guard play, and everyone has their opinion on that, but that's valuable in the NFL. And it's valuable to the Ravens too, because Patrick McCary just left.
Yeah, and I did. Obviously, you're not going to use a first round pick on a sixth offensive lineman. I mean, this guy is going to be a starter in this league, so I didn't want to get those two confused. It's just the positional flexibility.
Right.
If something happened to one of your tackles, or something happened to Linderbaum, chances are Zabel, I mean, especially left tackle or something really important, chances are Zabel is going to be the top dog on that roster to be able to handle it. Yuri, I did want to get to a couple of comments. Jim 20 Eyes, my man, Mr. Katz, in the house. Love you, Jim. It's good seeing you. And Heather, with the blessing. Thank you so much, man. That just, the appreciation that shows, it just, it kind of floors me anytime that happens, Yuri. It's awesome. And then we got some, my wife will watch the game stuff from J-Dubs. Yeah, draft talks, not so much. My wife watches the games, does not follow free agency, but she gets pretty intense once the game starts. And I always love my wife's point of view because it's so different than mine. She don't study film. She don't really pay attention, but she can really read energy, Yuri. If people don't got their stuff together, and she's very, very harsh when it comes to Lamar. Lamar's better than this and all this other stuff. It's so funny. Frank Black wanted to bring him up as well. Zabel might be interesting too if they decide not to pay Linderbaum. Some people see him as a center. Exactly. The Linderbaum situation, I feel like the Ravens want to keep Linderbaum, Yuri, but that franchise tag or the 5th-year option tag at 20-some million, lumping them in there with the offensive tackles is going to be tough to swallow for a center. So they're going to have to get that worked out. Yuri, breaking back into the Zabel talk, though, 27th overall. I mean, I have him 28 overall on my board. So obviously there'll be, some guys that I prefer over Zabel. But I have to say, if we took him, I'd be happy with that. I would be happy addressing the offensive line early in such a deep edge rusher, deep defensive line class, deep corner class, where if we went, and got a guy who could push for starting time as a guard, maybe he's better than Voorhees, maybe he's better than Faalele, give us some backup insurance at tackle, I'd be totally fine with that in the first round.
Yeah, I agree. I would certainly maybe not run the card up, but I'd feel pretty confident in the left guard or right guard spot is immediately upgraded. They can Linderbaum, like my biggest want out of this draft that I will not get is that I want Linderbaum to be used a little more as a weapon, a little more downfield, a little more in screens. And we saw some of that last year because the Ravens did run a lot of screens last year compared to the recent years. But it's just the weaponization of Linderbaum, I think, could be an add to the offense. And then as well as going back into 5-man protections. I think Zabel can come in and be a sound pass protector. He won't lose. He does not lose quickly. He's not he's a slow burner when it comes to losses. So you pair that with him potentially being next to Ronnie Stanley, and Lamar's blind side gets a little more comfortable, and that does a lot for a quarterback mentality. We've seen at times where if Lamar gets pressured and he has to start scrambling, and that's where some of the decisions we saw in the game against the Bills where the ball came out, and I think there's a lot of moving pieces if they took him at 28 or 27.
Yes, for sure. And, part of me has been wondering is like the Ben Clevelands of the world. Voorhees was such a steal that I can't even count him as like we invested. You know what I mean? It was just like we were kind of gifted Voorhees. The Faalele, another Greg Roman holdover. Like, do they really prefer size next to Linderbaum, or are they going to move towards more of what you're saying? 5-man protections, getting out on screens, the ability to run stretch zone. Like with Zabel, and when I look at him and I compare him to, or pair him with, Lamar Jackson, doesn't need much. Just do your job. If you're getting beat, Lamar can account for that. Just don't get beat off the snap. Don't get broke off the snap and blow up the play. Derrick Henry, same thing. Is Zabel as powerful as Booker or Donovan Jackson? No, but he is a positional blocker. He will be at his spot. That's all Derrick Henry really needs. You're not going to tackle him with an arm tackle. So it's a fascinating discussion. I wanted to bring Heather back in. How do you feel about Voorhees? Would love to see some more of Ben Cleveland. Not sure what they're doing with Ben Cleveland. I'm glad to see Ben is back in the organization. Heather, and I'm not sure everybody knows, but he had he was driving while intoxicated, break up with his wife or his girlfriend?
Yeah,
Yuri?
his wife divorced.
Divorced from his wife. So he had some rough go in his personal life. I've always been kind of a Ben Cleveland fan. And Voorhees, Yuri, with me, he looked not good the first 3 games, just being nice. The last game he played against Cleveland looked like a different player. My thing with Voorhees is he's only started 4 NFL games, and his injury history is long, and it goes back to college. So that's one of the reasons why. It's nothing against Voorhees. It's nothing against Cleveland. It's nothing against Faalele. We need backups there, and I really feel strongly about getting a strong offensive line.
Yeah, Voorhees, he's in the same boat to Ojabo with me, but not as bad. Like that week 17 or week 18 game against Cleveland was really impressive. Like the climbing to level 2 was there. The stuff that we're talking about with Zabel was there. It's just, can you count on his health? And he shouldn't be penciled in. I think there should be a healthy competition, and I think you can do that by selecting someone like Ray Zabel and then having the competition at right guard be Faalele and Voorhees. And I feel like that's fair, and I'd be good with that.
Love it. So Yuri got 45 minutes with us. So let's go to your second guy on the list. Trey Amos, Mississippi. Love him. Draft crush, kind of. 6'1", 195. Long arms. Can't complain about 31 and a quarter inches for a cornerback. The 4.43 speed. He's my cornerback, number 5 overall. Number 34 overall on the board. I mean, Yuri, I'm having a hard time with these corners at the end of the first, beginning of the second, my friend. You're talking about Maxwell Hairston. There's just a lot of good guys. I love Darian Porter. We talked about him last week. And separating these guys, but Trey Amos, fascinating prospect. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, so I assume you're 1, 2, and 3 is some mix of Hunter, Will Johnson, and then
Barron.
And then
I have Hairston and Amos. So he's right there with like right behind the big boys in that Hairston category for me.
Yeah, so I'm pretty high on him. I have him number 21 on my board. Cornerback, probably gonna end up cornerback too. I just, to me, the LSU game that he played against Kyron Lacy, and Kyron Lacy, whatever happened off the field, is a good player on the field and is very talented. And the way he stayed in phase, the way that he had last year, I want to say about 12 breakups on pass defenses and a 54 targeted rating, along to go with 3 interceptions. So he is very sound. I would immediately trust him to be on an island. And this is like a guy kind of like Nate Wiggins, where you felt like you can just throw him out there on an island and you'll be okay. Because even like I've seen him take. I think took Mason Taylor vertical and like carried him all the way up the seam, and defended the ball against someone who's much taller, much more
Big tight end.
Yeah, right. Big tight end. So he's wiry. He's definitely what I like is with him. You can tell, even though the last point always isn't play to the 4-4-3. He has the speed, and he isn't. You can tell that when he's like losing a rep, he isn't. It's weird to try and word it. He's not trying. Like, that's what I mean. Like, if someone's trying their hardest and they're losing the rep, you're like, it's the best I got. That there's still, to me, feels like there's more room for him in some of these reps to grow as a player, to use that speed. And it's why I feel so confident with him being on an island, because I know that when those reps come, he'll be able to deliver.
Yeah, so I just want to go over the notes real quick, and I'm sure Yuri will back me up on all the first three. Smooth, fluid mover, easy hips, quick feet. Like, for a guy who's 6'1", he moves like one of those 5'8", 5'9" cornerbacks with his change of direction, easy feet. Like, he could play point guard in the NBA. I don't know how tall point guards in the NBA are nowadays, but he's got those type of feet. His length and agility shows, and with agility, I'm talking about the body control, the ability to contort his body, not strength and straight line speed type stuff, but he's agile. Like a Kyle Hamilton is agile. You see it. Aggressive pass breakups at the catch point. You already mentioned the numbers on that. Impressive examples of matching wide receivers breaks on film. So I don't think he's like a great anticipator, but if a guy moves left, he goes right with him left. If the guy moves right, he's just an impressive ability to mirror and shadow guys. He is someone who swats at the ball, Yuri. He is not to me anyway, a playmaking guy. The 4 interception in 5 seasons. He loves to swat at the ball. And when I'm putting him against Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky, I'm kind of emphasizing the need for turnovers on this defense. And Maxwell Hairston with the 3 pick sixes, a bunch of interceptions on his resume, a smaller cornerback than Trey Amos. I think Amos is better at matching routes. But I was looking for that. The reason I have Hairston just ahead of Amos is for the playmaking aspect of it. And, of course, Hairston runs a 4.2 something.
Yeah, it is very rarely do I watch a player and I'm after like one game, I'm like, yeah, like this is, well, that's not true. But after that first LSU game, I think he had at least 4 pass breakups alone in that game, and they all came against, like, to your point, there was a comeback. Quarterback's clearly showing eyes that he's going to hit the comeback, and Amos, as soon as the receiver cuts outside, like, Amos is right on top of him, like, easily. He got so on top of him, and the throw was just terrible that he did the typical pass defense. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of him. I just think that there's too much to try and nitpick with him for me to be like, you know what? Like, I try and do that with every prospect. I'm like, okay, let's see what we can nitpick. Let's see what we don't like. But I didn't feel that way, and I feel like as time goes on, he's gonna keep going up my board.
He's a high floor guy too. Like, he's going to be a starting corner in this league. I feel confident about that. You never know about injuries and work ethic and stuff like that, but he's got the skills to be able to do a number of things in your defense, and you're not going to have to baby him too much, cater the scheme around him. So I do really like that about Trey Amos, and it seems like a lot of the guys in the comments love Amos as well. I can't go wrong. If he goes anywhere, moves anywhere on my board from now on the draft day, Yuri, it's going to be up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a stacked board. As you guys, big board is in the description of the video, by the way. Tried to paste it here as a comment, but it's too long for that. So let's go on to your next guy, brother, because we're running out of time for Mr. Yuri. Aeneas Peebles, Virginia Tech. Now, Yuri had given me, I think, 3 Virginia Tech players. So you must have got your hands on some Virginia Tech tape there, Yuri.
I watched all their games because I just kept coming back. I kept coming back, and I'm like, I'm watching these other guys. I'm like, these guys are freaking boring. Like, I'm watching them, and I'm like, you know what? Where's the pass rush? Where's the pass breakups? And that's never a bad thing. Usually, you don't want your guys getting targeted and having to go out there and make a play on it. But Aeneas Peebles, if my thing with him, and this is sometimes the logic I will use with players, is if I'm gonna draft an undersized 3-tech, and it's like him, Lott, and then you have Mason Graham, who's projected to go top 10. Why draft an undersized 3-tech top 10 if you can get one with just as much pass rush juice on day 3? So I am. This is one of the guys, Jason. When we were talking the other day on the phone, like, hey, someone's gonna go and grab this guy early. This is someone I feel pretty strongly about. That day 2, we're gonna be sitting there on the live stream and we're gonna hear his name called at like 60 or something, and we were like, oh wow, the pass rush package is there. And to me, and I think the reason why you have him lower is because he's undersized. But to me, it just I usually do a general board. The way in which he wins so quick in a league that is so condensed now with the shells that's immediate value to me. If you can get him on the field on obvious passing downs, 2nd and 17, blah 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 blah. His ability to really mess up offenses quick and put these teams into worse positions. And you pointed out the gap shooting. It's so he isn't fat. He isn't a big boy, but he gets skinny really quickly and very often, and it leads to reps getting blown up because of that ability. So in terms of where I have him, I think I have him at like 82 on my board. So I think these Virginia Tech defenders, we're gonna be pretty far. We're gonna be a ravine apart on these guys. But
That's fine. That's fine. And just to go over the notes real quick: rush production, 8 sacks in 25 games. So that's pretty productive, even for a college player, a defensive tackle, getting that kind of rush production. He's quick, active, as Yuri mentioned, high motor, mixes up his rushes. He's got some know-how to him, man. Like his hand usage is really good. You mentioned his ability to get skinny and really, just a slippery type player, gap shooter, that arm over swim, man. It's really hard for guards to really get up under his shoulder pads and really displace him because he's so quick and slippery with it. He's got a spin move even. And of course, the board that I'm making is for the Ravens. So if I was making a board for another team who liked players like this, undersized players like this, 4-3 base teams, Peebles would be higher on my board. The reason I have him is as 144. So somebody I'd be looking at maybe 4th round, 5th round. He's going to go before that, Yuri. He's going to go before that. Is that he's undersized. His arms are very short for a defensive lineman. You can't ask him to 2-gap and do some of the things that every other Ravens defensive lineman pretty much in history has been able to do. Travis Jones, Matabike, all of these guys can 2-gap. Broderick. So it's more of a fit thing for me. I think he's going to be a good player. I think he's going to be, at least a sub rusher in this league. Maybe he can improve his run defense to get himself on the field more often. But if you remember last year, Yuri, we pretty much ran teams with our defensive tackles. First team was Matabike and Travis Jones. Second team was Broderick Washington and Michael Pierce. So there was no, hey, it's third down. Let's bring in Aeneas Peebles off the bench and get some sub rush. It was like we were sticking with the big guys in the middle, cage rushing and doing that kind of thing. So it's not that I don't like Peebles, to be clear to anybody who's an Aeneas Peebles fan. I just think if the Ravens drafted him, they would be going away from the history of the defensive tackles that they usually draft.
Yeah, no doubt. And that also, brings in the question, what are you looking for in a defensive tackle in this draft? Are you looking for a Michael Pierce replacement? Are you looking for someone to two gap, like you pointed out? And to me, I am much more of a let's get better situationally on third down, and let's bring in guys that are attacking as a pass defender, and he's one of them. And if he ends up playing maybe 10 snaps a game, just because of the situation that unfolds, and he gets a sack one every 30 snaps, I think that's a fine outcome for him.
Right.
I know that's pretty aggressive, but the pressures will come very quickly, because we're gonna go and we're gonna have whoever's I kind of refer to linebacker play and defensive tackle play is the same as like the control and the wild. And if we have someone like Travis Jones or Matabike lined up next to him, kind of being the control, doing the two gap stuff, and then you have Peebles, who's going to have an opportunity for a one-on-one. I think that's.
I love it. I love it. So we said our piece. Now I've seen Desmond Watson's name come up a couple of times in the chat. Heather, I'm going to bring it up to be our Michael Pierce, 464 pounds, ran a 5.93. Desmond Watson is, I think, if he's drafted, he's going to be the heaviest player ever drafted. So I'm interested not only to hear from Yuri, but other people in here. Where do you put the straight nose tackles in this draft? With the loss of Michael Pierce and needing a big body, where do you value? And I know your philosophy on relative athletic scores and passing difference, but I want to hear from everybody on this too. Do we need a nose tackle replacement? Like what happens, when Travis Jones comes off the field? We need another big body. Would Desmond Watson be somebody that would interest you, or is he just so one-dimensional with being an awesome run defender who really can't move the pocket that you might be out on?
Well, I drew the comparison that he is Michael Pierce was a UDFA and fell in the draft. And I could see something similar happening with Watson and the Ravens picking him up and him ending up being a successful player. I really wouldn't spend a draft capital on him. 464 pounds is insane. And it's almost unhealthy. But I would be interested in him as UDFA and bring him into camp, see if you can get him to where you want to be in terms of weight. In terms of the player, like I don't have nose tackle to me. I'm not sure. I know
you're going to say it. Yeah.
Like we paid Broderick to be a run defender. We have Travis Jones, which I know I brought up him not being healthy, and then we have Matabike as well. So to me, my biggest need for a defensive lineman is someone who can play as a 3 and also move out to a 5. And if they can do that well and be able to maintain gap integrity, then I think that's the perfect fit that I'm looking for.
Okay, so as far as my philosophy, I'm not all in with Yuri on that. I do think that we need, kind of a Pierce replacement, and I would like to see another guy like Yuri's talking about, a 3 that can move from 3 to 5, basically a Matabike clone. Like I want a Matabike clone, and I want a Travis Jones clone to really upgrade that second team when those guys come off the field, to give us 2 Matabike types, to give us 2 Travis Jones types. So that's kind of where I am with it. Let's keep it moving. Will it be another Virginia Tech player, Yuri? Let's see as I fast
It
forward here.
might.
Dorian Strong, the corner. So, hey, physical at the line, ability to press is NFL ready. Let's get that out the way first and foremost. Dorian Strong will beat you up at the line of scrimmage, and it's NFL quality to me. It's not he'll develop into it or he might struggle with it at first. I think if you put him in press coverage right now, he'll be able to do that at an NFL level. 6'1", 185. Um, Eye balance and anticipation and zoner plus quality. So he's a smart corner. He understands space and he's got an innate feeling for what's going on around him. Experienced player, 44 starts. It's the speed corner, Yuri. I like my cornerbacks kind of fast, have speeds concerned with his speed and his change of direction. I'm not a 40 is the end all be all type of guy, but I think 4.5 is about what he plays. And his change of direction is not something I'm in love with. That said, there's a place for Dorian Strong in the NFL as a zone corner and somebody that you can press up at man if you have a Kyle Hamilton or somebody with range behind him freelancing at the free safety spot. So he's firmly in the draftable category to me. Cornerback 16, 140 overall. Dorian Strong, another Virginia Tech guy. What do you got?
So I have him about 95th, 96th in terms of player spot. To the point of the zone, like the ability for him to play the outside and the work the sideline as a defender, he's a very he's another high pass breakup guy. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I just remember watching Virginia Tech watching Virginia Tech this past January and seeing so many times that he's just on the ball, in the game, engaged. 4.5, I think, was a fine time for him. I'm honestly more, and I do agree. I am a big 40 time is very important for corners, which is why someone like I'm going to butcher the first name, but Azari Thomas from FSU, who ran I think a 4.58 or
That is
more.
pro day. That is pro day.
Yeah. That why take that player at now they're a little different. They are different, but why take that player with high capital? We can get someone like Dorian Strong on the back end of day 3, the back end of day 2, early day 3. So I'm very high on him. I think that it with the right system. But the thing is, there's a lot of teams running the system that he would fit. I don't know if we're one of them. I really don't. I'm a little confused with our system. I've been thinking about it over the off season and trying to piece together. What coverages are we running the most? What are we leaning towards? And it's hard because the first 10 weeks were so drastically different from the back half. But I think if the Ravens with Awuzie and Tampa, and then you add someone like Strong in, maybe you get a little more aggressive and you get a little more pressy and a little less quarters and a little less or not quarters, a little less off coverage and a little less because McDonald, and I hate to compare the two, but like McDonald loved running press quarters. Like we were very much press quarters, funnel to the middle, and then last year we tried funneling stuff in the middle and it just wasn't working. So you get someone like Strong, and at worst, he's a special teams outside gunner who's just shoving guys in the sideline on day 3, and that's not the worst. That's not the worst outcome.
Agree. I want to say what's up to my guy Stacy. What's going on? Any comment on Jim's comment here? What should we expect from TJ Tampa in year 2? Man, my expectations are basically would be like that of a rookie, Jim. I don't have any expectations. He's going to have to show up and prove it. I didn't learn anything about TJ Tampa last year because I just didn't see enough of him.
Yeah, I mean, I like him. I really do. I think Tampa's another guy that's I wouldn't say similar to Strong, but there are some similarities you could point out, like the press and the pass defenses and the
game speed too. The game speed and
I
a good
don't think
eye.
Tampa was that fast either. So I'm a little bit higher on Tampa. I think he makes it. I think he makes the roster, especially over Armour Davis if he's even here still. But he's like he's in the same boat as Tez Walker with me. It's like, okay, well, I guess we'll find out next year.
There you go. Really appreciate, and Jeremiah, something that I harp on all the time. I trust the game speed more than the 40s for sure. That's why when I say stuff like, the 4.5 kind of matches what I saw on tape. I'll never, there are certain guys that run faster. What was our first guy? I said, I think that or Trey Amos, I believe it was, that I think 4.43 was a little deceiving. He doesn't always play to 4.43. So, yeah, it's important to draw your own conclusions and to let the 40 double check you, Yuri. Somebody runs much faster than you expect. You go back and watch them and see if you can find an example of when he really opened up. Like Justin Jefferson's the perfect example for that. I thought he was slower. And then Justin Jefferson comes out. I believe he ran in the low 4.4s or something like that at the combine. And I had to go back and watch. And I'm like, oh my goodness. He wasn't slow. He was just playing super under control, making himself extremely friendly. When he wants to open it up, he can. So the 40 can open your eyes and really give you some clues, but you don't want to just put it all on those kind of metrics. You got to trust your eyes too, for me. A couple of more comments on the DBs. JAD has shown he has the ability to play on the league, can't stay on the field exactly, and stays back in. The good thing is we have Wiggins, who is fast on tape and fast in the 40 for sure. Can't wait to see. I can't wait to see how how he develops. The Ravens have 5 corners now, don't they? We have Marlon, we have Wiggins, and then behind him we have Tampa, we have JAD, and we have Awuzie. So that would be 5. Yes, sir. Absolutely, Frank. Thank you. All right, let's go to at least one more, Yuri, because I know I got to get you out of here.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about our guy APR?
Yeah. So I'm gonna keep making the reference. Why take Princely? I'm not gonna get the last name right.
Let me Ellen.
Say it again.
Just think of Ellen at the end. Ellen. So Umanimi Ellen.
Ellen. Anyways, why take him when you can take someone like Power Island, who also another candidate for this guy ends up going high because teams are going to value. He is very, and you made it here in the point, the tempo in which he layers his rushes. One, I don't know what the coaching staff is over Virginia Tech, but I really think the defensive line and the edge rush coach deserves a lot of credit because those guys were out there using NFL level stuff. That's
a good point between Guy Peebles and APR. They really do. They know what they're doing over there.
Yeah, and a lot of the times you'll see even high level, like the guys are going to go top 10, top 20. They're just being better athletes. They got some, Daniel Falele, RAS tester out at tackle, and they're just being better athletes. But these guys, the spin move is with Ryland. Like you will see him early in the game set up a tackle for a rep later in the game, and we'll go back to that and hit him with a spin move, hit him with the dip, hit him with the ghost rush, which this class is ridiculous. There's so many guys using the ghost rush now, and I just think it's funny because it was a move I feel like we haven't seen for a while, and then this class is there's 8 or 9 people. I'm like, okay, they're just ghost rushing, they're using it a lot. But he has the natural leverage that 31 sometimes with edge rushers like someone like Jack Sawyer who's I think Jack Sawyer is way taller. He's 6'4", 6'5", but he has short arms. But when you have and I think an eye-opening thing for me was what Jason Kelsey was talking about repping with Poona Ford, and he's like, Poona Ford gave me a problem because he was short, but he also had short arms, and so the leverage game was or long arms. Sorry. So there's 2 ways to me to create leverage, either naturally or physically. And I think he does a really good job at it. Very, very intelligent football player as well.
He very much is. 16 sacks last year. That doesn't happen accidentally. And he works his rush really well. He knows what he's doing. Very savvy. Glad you brought up the mixes, the tempo. He's not a one speed rusher. It's not the same speed coming off at the same angle every time. It's the opposite of that. He could be coming for your inside shoulder, your outside shoulder. He could be coming full blast. He could be stutter stepping. He really keeps the tackles guessing. His hand usage is great. His feet are nimble. You talk about change of direction, being able to Euro step you, cross you up. He can do that. And then what I like that he does, Yuri, is for a guy with shorter arms, who, you get to the NFL and these longer tackles are waiting for, I mean, dude, they've some of the best bull rushers in the world with these long 35-inch arm edge rushers, one arm in you. These offensive tackles are used to defending that. But with APR, he gets them so off balance, and his speed to power is so sudden that it doesn't matter how long the offensive tackle is. He gets into their chest and pushes them back. So he can also cage rush you if you want to just push the pocket on a mobile quarterback. You can do that for him. He's got some power rush to him for a guy. So I really think he can do it all. His ability to set the edge, shed and tackle, or works in progress. I think I'm being nice wording that. So where do you see a guy like this go? Could you see the Ravens bring in a player like APR? I could. You're talking about a sub rusher. The other team gets the ball. Minute and a half left in the first half, Yuri. They got one timeout. They got to throw the ball. You put APR on the field, and you let him go get the quarterback. Yeah, I think there is a place for him. It's just an incredibly deep edge group is basically why I have him where I do.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be that wide sub rusher, playing way out at probably 7. But I'm using the same logic that I used with Peebles. Is I want to get better on third down. I want to get better situationally, and I want better pass rush and pass defenders. And he doesn't fit the typical mold that they like with guys that can go out there and set the edge. Owe, Isaac could set the edge. Ojabo was not an edge setter at all. But I mean, how much better do you need the number one run defense to get? So that's my logic with him. My logic with Peebles is that these guys elevate the pass defense, and that's really what killed us. That first 10 games of last year was just couldn't get any sacks, and whatever was going on in the secondary was going on.
So what do you say? J Dub wants to know, how do you feel about APR's dip and bend? To me, it's good. It's good enough. It's not elite like a Abdul Carter or a Mike Green, but he's got some dip to him. He's got some ankle flexation to be able to bend.
Yeah, I think it's good enough. To me, a lot more more of the ankle flexion. I think that's a little more in his game in terms of how he uses it and what he layers inside of his rushes using that flexibility. Another thing too, like you can't be pulling off spin moves and have bad ankle flexion. So
That's true. Right. He's really really easy feet, Jeremiah. Really easy feet. And guys like this, the sack artists, they'll have highlight tapes on YouTube. So if you look up Antoine Powell Ryland, you'll be able to see how he does a little bit of everything and how easy of a mover is. Yuri, I'm going to get you out on this. The edge group itself is probably the deepest group in the draft to me. I mean, the D-line group is really deep. The running back group is really deep. But you talk about quality players on the edge. I mean, we didn't get to Sai'vion Jones, Jared Ivey, who are more of your hand in the dirt 5 techs. David Walker, a lot of people like. You mentioned Princely, Uman Mielen, Jack Sawyer, Braden Swinson, JT Tulamoloau, my guy Oladejo, Landon Jackson, Josiah Stewart. I mean, there's edge rushers everywhere in this class. We have Adisa Isaac, Ojabo going into his last year. He might even be a question of whether he makes the roster or not. Maybe they want to reset the clock. Go with Owe. Obviously, KVN. Tavius Robinson's got his spot established. Adisa Isaac, I doubt they're going to give up him on his second year. So you got basically room for one more edge rusher here. Strategy, like if an edge rusher is available in the first round, but you got an even grade at another position, do you just wait on edge rusher because of all the edge rushers in this class?
I think so, but especially if your goals to upgrade offensive line, it gets pretty thin pretty quick in terms of people that can play guard. I mean, yeah, I think you have to be picky with the player you get. I don't think they like to me in this draft. This really shouldn't be let's get good players draft. I think let's think critically and look for skill sets that complement what we already have, and try and find. Was that I think the problem is they have no one. That's not really a game record.
I think Frank's saying what you're trying to get to here, which is let's be really choosy and get somebody who can really complement and help wreck a game.
Right. Yeah. Like someone like Rylan, like he can. I watched him wreck a couple of games because of how well he was able to rush the quarterback. So with this class, there's a lot of guys. Like there's a decent amount of guys that are high sack number, and if that's what the flavor you're looking for, then they have it. But the nice thing about this class, and to your point of how deep it is there's a lot of flavors of edge rushers. So you got guys like Landon Jackson. You have guys like he's a little bit of a my guy, but Sawyer, that you can have go out there and try and set an edge. Kind of go out there, and you have guys like Rylan, and Swinson who are maybe a little more. Let's let these guys rush. So it's a good class of edge rushers to your point, and maybe you can wait. You can wait till day 2, day 3 to address the position, but I think you need to play to the strengths of the class and at least get one.
I love it. The day picking up on my Iziraku Doomerville comp, bro. We were talking about Jason Kelsey talking about short dude with long arms give you problems. Yeah, because they're Iziraku gets so low that it's just hard for some of these tall offensive linemen to really. And Iziraku's got the arms too, where he could totally control the action at the point of attack. So yeah, it's I like to see my comps spread, man, because I'm not a comp guy, Yuri. I don't enjoy comps. I think that like I always find something wrong with them. You know what I mean? Well, he's like this, but he doesn't do quite this the same. So I kind of stay away from comps. But Iziraku to Doomerville, that's one I feel pretty good about. So Yuri, I'm gonna get you out of here, man. I know early day for you tomorrow, early day every day.
Yep, you can see the bags under my eyes.
Oh yeah, you're so old. You're so old. What kind of final thoughts do you have on this draft? I'm going to keep the stream going for a little bit, and we can talk. But wanted to get Yuri out here. And what's your overall assessment, man? How you feeling? A little over 2 weeks out of the draft.
I'm feeling good. To kind of just building off the point I made a second ago was, I think this is the class to really get refined in your scouting, get deep in your scouting. And it feels like the past couple of classes, they've had some good players fall to them, and they've taken best player available, which is nice, and it's cool. And they've, more times than not, it ends up working out. But I think they have enough good players on the roster, and I do think this is the class where you start nitpicking a little bit, start getting, maybe not taking the number one guy on the board every time, and maybe trusting your scouting a little bit more. The number one guy on the board according to consensus. That's what I mean to say, not the number one guy according to you, because they have. I feel like a lot of the times in the past, it's been the number one consensus, and like the Ravens are taking that guy. Like Rosengarten. Rosengarten was not consensus pick, but he had a skill set that's one, hard to find, and two is rare. Well, said the same thing, but you know what I mean. It's a rare skill set.
Gotcha.
It's a rare skill set to be a plus athlete, be able to pass protect, and I think that like in this draft that needs to be the same mindset, especially on day 3. I think day one and day 2 best player available. I'm cool with it, but Once you get into day 3, I really think that this is where we start finding complementing pieces. Like Tavius Robbins is a good example. Nobody, including me, that guy was not even on my board. I didn't heard the dude. I like watched one highlight tape of him at some point between January and April. And now, last year, the Bills game, probably the best pass rusher we had that game. And he was very productive last year. So trust your scouting. They've done it before where they've quote unquote reached on someone and it ends up working out. So I think this is the draft. This is the draft to get. This isn't the draft to get aggressive with picks. This is a draft to get aggressive with scouting.
Love it, Yuri, coming at us with the good information. And I keep staring at this, like the orange section, really, Yuri, and just trying to figure out how to arrange these guys. And it's stressful, my friend. It's stressful, my friend. I keep wanting to move guys up. Like Amos deserves to be in there. Some of the stuff we're hearing about James Pierce is pretty, like I feel like the Ravens are not going to take him. Yeah, this is tough. So, I know you wanted to get out of here, but make sure you check in on the big board, Yuri. And when will we be seeing you again? You coming back day 2 of the draft?
Yes. How many weeks do we have? Do we have 2 weeks? Is it really 2 weeks now?
2 more Mondays and then that Thursday. You know what I mean? So 2 weeks from Thursday.
2 weeks from this Thursday upcoming.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. You'll see me on the draft.
All right. That is Mr. Marshall, Mr. Yuri, Mr. Merritt getting out of here. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate also real quick comment section. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the support. Hopefully I will the day. And then I saw someone else out there. There we go. Yeah. So Jason, appreciate you having me on. Sorry I couldn't stay longer. Unfortunately, this brain is only got so much information rolling around in it.
That's okay. Hey, you know what? I'm going to bring up the rest of your guys and say things about them, and you're not going to be able to be here to be able to defend and counter argument.
Don't say. Look, you can slander the other two. Don't say anything bad about Dan Jackson. Don't.
Okay. Well, you just have to tune in later and get frustrated when you're not here. There goes Yuri, everybody. See you later, buddy.
All right. See you.
All right. So let's finish it off here, man. I want to get back to some of Yuri's guys because he did pick some interesting players. And, of course, he's higher on them than I am. Now, this guy is extremely fascinating to me. Sai'vion Jones out of LSU. You see the size there, 6'5", 280. He is a classic 4-3 defensive end. And I'm going to go right – sorry, J-Dub, let me take you off there. Right to the last bullet point. He's a prototypical 4-3 defensive end. So does he fit with the Ravens? The Ravens, they like their edge rushers to be able to stand up, to be able to spread out wide and really attack from different angles, to run stunts and twists and all this kind of thing. Sai'vion Jones is more of your 4-3 team, hand in the dirt, old school defensive end who's a little bit too small to play D tackle. So he's an oversized edge. But there's a lot to love about him, and that's why he's certainly on my board. I feel like another team will value him more than the Ravens. But I'm curious to think because there's a thought out here, like guys like Sai'vion Jones, and there are more of them. Jordan Birch stands out. Jared Ivey from Mississippi, where are they a Brent Urban type replacement, where they're a big edge, who play stronger than their size, but with Brent Urban yet to have been re-signed, do the Ravens sign another Urban type player? And if so, then guys like Sai'vion Jones, Jordan Birch, Jared Ivey would definitely be in play. What I like about Sai'vion, his motor is obvious. He grinds it out play to play, does not quit on reps. And I don't put that graphic up for every player. Like with Sai'vion, it's just so obvious. He plays his butt off down to down. And that's very impressive considering he's playing a lot of snaps for LSU. And, of course, his size is 280 pounds. The Senior Bowl standout raised his stock. He troubled different O-linemen. And what I mean by different O-linemen is different styles of offensive linemen. So Sai'vion was rushing against bigger, stronger, heavier-footed tackles. He did well against them. He did well against the lighter, quicker tackles, the long tackles, the short tackles, the technicians, the overall athletes. It didn't matter who he was lined up against. If you watch those Senior Bowl drills, I believe he lined up inside against some guards and all that. Sai'vion Jones was one of the better players at the Senior Bowl, had a good Senior Bowl game itself, really helped his stock and really stood out to me, made me want to watch his tape. If you check out Sai'vion in the Senior Bowl, you will be able to say that. A disruptive, powerful style. He had 4.5 sacks in 2024. He got a lot of attention over there. His sack number definitely could have been higher. Finishing is something that I look at, especially for a guy that size. Can he finish? He's certainly getting a ton of pressure, but is he a finisher? That's something that I have to be honest, I'm going to keep him down on my board just a little bit. But overall, this guy against the run and rushing the passer is a very solid prospect overall. He's edge number 19. We brought up the edge board just a little while ago, or the positional rankings a while ago. It's just a really deep group. The main thing with me is, with it being a Ravens board, how do these guys compare to other guys the Ravens have drafted? And the Ravens haven't really drafted a Sai'vion Jones type player since I can remember. So that's what's keeping him down on the board. Jim, Sai'vion reminds me of Tavius. He really does. A lot of the same qualities. So do they think they can stand up a 280-pound defensive end who's played with his hand in the dirt? Do you think they could stand him up and have him be that, playing that 3-4 base defense, set the edge in the run game? Possible. It's possible. Just because the Ravens haven't drafted someone like him before doesn't mean that they won't. Frank Black coming in seems like he's getting a lot of second-round hype. I mean, if I had a 4-3 team and I was like the Bengals, for example, who lost Sam Hubbard, this would be a guy that would fit in well and to replace a guy like Sam Hubbard. I like him. And Jeremiah says, I think he moves can be learned better than size. It can. Moves can be learned better than size. Of course, you will get stronger at the NFL level. Sai'vion has natural size. So Sai'vion Jones, one of Yuri's guys, I'm sure he has him much higher than me on the list. I just, question the score. What's the RAS score on Jones? Don't have it available. I'm not going to search for it right now, but if somebody else has Saivion's RAS scores, if he did all the stuff, feel free to post it down for my guy of the day right there. RAS score on Sai'vion. Really good player. Okay, now the last guy. Now, Yuri warned me before he left not to say anything bad about his guy, Dan Jackson. Now, Dan Jackson, great story, wasn't recruited, had to work his way up the ranks at Georgia, which, is not just Joe Blow University out in the middle of nowhere. This is the University of Georgia, competing for national championships, being in the conversation year after year. When you're not recruited, you walk on and you work your way up the ranks of the school like that. It says something about the kind of ball player you are. Dan Jackson, no respect, was not invited to the combine. So the 6 foot 194, 446, 40, those are all pro day numbers. Right now I have him as safety number 12, 157 overall. This guy is fascinating to me. Now, the pro day numbers, I'm always a little bit weary of them. Sometimes they are way off. Sometimes they're not. But one thing that you can say, if somebody is timed at around scouts have different times. So some time them faster, some time them a little slower. But the average time I got from his pro day was 4.46. If he ran a 4.46 on his pro day, he's not a 4.6 guy. Excuse me. He's somewhere around there. He's somewhere in this range. Even if he was a 4.5 flat guy, even if he was a 4.52 guy, that's still plenty fast for a safety. So his speed checked out at his pro day. 6 foot 194. It kind of surprises me that he is 6 foot tall. He just looks smaller and scrappy on tape to me. Comes downhill with force, urgency, splash hitter. You're talking about a fun tape. Every game, it seems like if you watch them on TV, and the TV copies are probably available. I know they're available on YouTube. Dan Jackson will come screaming into the screen where he's not in the screen. Somebody catches the ball. Dan Jackson comes screaming in, cleans his clock. He comes down here with force, urgency, splash hitter, just impressive, fun type player. think of like Deshaun Elliott in that way. Similar type comp. You're talking about going all out, hair on fire, no regard for your body, splash hitter. That's Dan Jackson. His overall recognition is good, and he provides some flexibility on the back end. Now, of course, Dan Jackson's safety mate there at Georgia was Malachi Starks, who's probably going to go in the first round. So Malachi Starks, sometimes he would move to the slot. They did a lot of switching from in the games that I saw. So Jackson does give you some flexibility to where could he handle the back end by himself for a handful of plays while you move Kyle Hamilton around and do that kind of thing? He certainly could, but he is more of a strong safety. The bugaboo on him is obviously he only got a chance to start 1 year through no fault of his own. 15 missed tackles for PFF. Now, I don't use PFF as a Bible, but when you see that many missed tackles from PFF, it's not a complete mistake. He does miss some tackles. It's angle issues, and it's the same thing. Makes you laugh, makes you cry. He comes in just screaming. Does not do a great job all the time of settling his feet, over aggressive angles, and he can be hit or miss and give up some big plays. So that's the overall assessment here on Dan Jackson. This is a point I'm going to make, and I just flashed. It was the first thing I seen from Jim. With Kane and Braid as the safety type, aren't we looking more for a free safety type? Yes. Essentially that's why I have Dan Jackson where I have him on the board. Now, I think he can play free safety. Don't get me wrong. He's just very inexperienced, and it's going to take him a year or so before you trust him on the back end as a free safety. Bo Braid, Sanusi Kane, man, who really can bring the pain as a tackler, core special teamer. I feel like we have those kind of safeties already, and you can draft strong safeties everywhere. What we really need is a free safety, as Frank Black is saying, to free Kyle Hamilton up. If something happens and we have another injury, or if we don't address this, then Kyle Hamilton is going to be stuck. And maybe this sounds insulting, but I refer to it as I don't want Kyle Hamilton babysitting the back end when he could be being moved around, being around the ball, sacking quarterbacks in the backfield, blowing up screen passes, and all the splash plays that we've grown accustomed to in Kyle's first 3 years on the field. All of a sudden, you put him back at free safety. The big plays disappear down the field, yes. But Kyle's all of a sudden, he's making fewer plays because he's, in my words, babysitting the back end, just making sure that the Ravens are organized, which was great. We needed it last year. We had to do it. But I want a free safety. I want somebody who can do that, a leader back there who knows how to read defenses, play the back end, so we can allow one of the greatest defensive weapons in football, Kyle Hamilton, to be just that and not the last man standing in the back end. So I know it's not a popular thought with everybody. A lot of people think Kyle, maybe his future position is free safety, this and that. But, man, Kyle is just so special. I don't want to see him pigeonholed into Marcus Williams' role, where he cameos sometimes as a playmaker, but he's basically a free safety most of the time. So, yeah, that's why I'm looking more for a free safety. Dan Jackson, to me, though, still draftable player, 157 overall. So if you just go quick, 30 picks, per round. I know there's 32 teams. Let's just say 30 picks, 5 rounds is 150 plus the comp picks. So I would be interested in Jackson, maybe in the 5th round. He's probably end of the 4th guy on my board, but 5th round, if we want to bring in somebody like Dan Jackson, we think he can cover the back half. Let's go for it. Obviously, that 4.46 is just a 40 time, and it's a pro day 40 time, but it does show you that he's got plenty of foot speed. Terry Bullock coming in, no body control. Yeah, the body control is kind of a, I don't know. I get kind of mixed feelings on it. I think where you see his body control issues is man coverage too. Dan Jackson is not somebody you necessarily want to ask to cover man to man. So then you say, well, he's not necessarily a free safety, but you don't really want to man him up on tight ends because he'll get pushed around. Not quick enough for the smaller receivers. He doesn't have the body control for that. So that's where the the floor goes down on Dan Jackson. He could be an impact player, a fan favorite, sell plenty of jerseys, but he could also be in a situation where he can't get himself on the field because he's not a man coverage guy. He's not a true free safety. He's a run and hit guy only. So does he have a Deshaun Elliott career type path? Or does he bust out and end up like what we saw Sanusi Kane and Bo Braid in their rookie years, where he just doesn't play any that much and he's there for special teams? I don't know. I kind of have more confidence in Sanusi Kane and Bo Braid to be the extra safeties. We need a free safety on top to pair with our Darius and Kyle and really give us that flexibility on the back end. Jim Eyes, Xavier Watts. Yeah, that's a safety who can do it all. Supreme eyes, good body control, not the greatest athlete, but he's great at everything. Just a pure ball player. Love Xavier Watts. So there you go, Yuri. That was your last guy. You almost made him through it all. Dan Jackson, a fascinating guy. Had to bring him up and go over his status here. And yes, Frank, Kane was great at playing special teams. And I think there's a clip of Lamar Jackson saying, I know who that was, talking about Sanusi Kane. Somebody laid a big hit on special teams, and Lamar said something like, I already knew. But yeah, Kane, big hitter. I want to look at this top of the board and kind of get some feedback and just talk way through it. This is actually the second half of the first round. So your Travis Hunters and your Abdul Carters aren't shown here. But having a tough time. One guy that I don't know what to do with anymore is Jahad Campbell. Excellent football player. Number one, he can play linebacker. He's got upside at edge. They moved him to linebacker because of Dallas Turner and Will Anderson and all those edge rushers, and they wanted to get Campbell on the field, so he is a linebacker. But the torn labrum, his injury is a torn labrum in his shoulder. And I've heard different things on this recoveries, but I've also heard the recovery might take up to like a 6-month recovery. And I'm just not sure if that's correct. And if that's correct, you got a linebacker who won't be ready until, maybe by the time the rehab gets done and, he gets worked into the action, he won't be ready for the start of the season. That's kind of tough to deal with. And it's a shame because Campbell looked great at the combine. Blew up the combine. His tape is just so clean. Like, I think Campbell has one of the highest floors in this draft in the first round. Like, Campbell will be a starting linebacker. He does everything well. He's got good speed, change of direction. He's got power, stopping power. When his pads are right, he just looks like, if you look at their defense, the Alabama defense, he stands out as a dude. So what to do with Jahad Campbell? Will he still be in the green as we get more information on this injury, or am I going to have to take him out of the green because he's not going to go in the first round? That is a tough situation. Josh Simmons met with the Ravens. You see number 20 on the board. He was in for a visit, and there's some kind of weird stat or basically about the Ravens not drafting guys that they bring in for a visit. Like, the Ravens are historically and famously very secretive. So if they bring somebody in for a visit, sometimes that's just a smokescreen. They're not interested in them. Josh Simmons was brought in for a visit. If not for his injury, for his ACL tear early in the season, he'd probably be up there as in consideration as a top 10 pick in this draft. But Simmons still a fascinating guy. I think he would offer you positional flexibility too. Like, if you wanted to play him at left guard, he could do that. A fascinating player. But ordering those guys from, about where we're talking about now to the end of the row there at 32 is just a painstaking process. Earlier in the show, we talked about Donovan Jackson versus Zabel. We talked about all the smoke around James Pierce as a prospect, people he hangs out with, and just some giving up on plays and all that work ethic things that are peppered throughout his scouting reports. Todd McShay went into it on his show, so I'm not going to repeat what Todd McShay said. But the stuff around James Pierce just doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound like a player the Ravens would take. That's why he is where he is on the board. And, of course, Colston Loveland, Amarian Hampton, They're at 31 and 32. Those guys are going to go in the first round, but I dropped them on the Ravens-centric board because I don't see us going running back or tight end. I think there's zero chance of that happening in the first round. So I dropped those guys down the board. So what do you do with Tyler Booker, Ezira Raku, Shamar Stewart, Kenneth Grant, Maxwell Hairston, we talked about a little bit tonight, Walter Nolan, the two guards, Pierce, Luther Burden, another guy I really like. What if the Ravens took Luther Burden at pick 27? Do it all. Swiss Army knife, type receiver. Could probably play X if you ask him to. He'd be better in the Z role. Could play the slot, running back after the catch. Maybe he's not a natural route runner, but he finds a way to get open. You talk about his body control, his ability to finish plays. Like Luther Burden has really grown on me in this process. And if the Ravens took a wide receiver at 27, it would be a surprise. Especially with like the need on defense at corner. The succession plans needed for Oweh and Kyle Van Noy at edge, the defensive lineman that we talked about tonight. Like wide receiver seems like a luxury pick when you got Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins. You know what you got in Tylan Wallace coming back. You want to get Devontae Walker involved probably this year. But Luther Burden, wide receivers are expensive. So if you pick one in the first round, it's usually not a bad thing because you get the kind of production out of them. You're getting production on a rookie contract that others are paying massive money for. So, positional value has risen above left tackle, financially. It's true. It's true. And we've seen the cornerback value go down. I think that's something that I called on this program. Longtime watchers can attest to this. But with all the shells and the safe defenses that we're seeing nowadays, there's less pressure on the cornerbacks than there used to be when they were out on an island playing man defense all the time and getting picked on. So corners have become a little bit less important. Wide receivers have become a little bit more important. And that's reflected in the pay scale that Jeremiah is talking about. The cornerbacks are, didn't do well in the market. Wide receivers continue to do really well in the market. EZE. Hey, man, good seeing you. Good seeing you. Haven't seen you in a while. I think EDC prefers elite separators over a Luther Burden type receiver. It's true. Like a Matthew Golden, you see how high I have him at 13. He is an elite separator. Something tells me, though, that he would like to, like with Todd Monken, get the ball to guys in space. There's no better receiver in this draft in space when you're talking about the ability to break tackles, not run away from guys. Burden isn't the fastest, but that running back type quality that he has. Think about all those like screen passes, like the one Zay Flowers got hurt on. Keep using them for that stuff. You could use Luther Burden in that role and let Zay. And of course, Burden, maybe he doesn't play a ton this year with Hopkins on the roster. There's also a chance that Bateman gets banged up again, like he did in the Buffalo game. So yeah, it's kind of interesting what kind of receivers EDC likes. And when I look at that wide receiver list at the top, Tech McMillan, big body guy, X receiver. DeCosta's also said that he wants to get that X receiver. So I do like Tech McMillan. I think he's been unfairly knocked down the draft a little bit. He's not a huge separator, but he's awesome at the catch point. And he's got some quickness to him. Burden, Ibuka, Jalen Noel, and of course my guy, Jaden Higgins. Kyle Williams is fascinating. Some good receivers there. And I think if any of those receivers in the orange, talking about Burden, Ibuka, Noel, Higgins, Kyle Williams, if any one of those guys are available in the second round, wherever we pick, I think it's 54. I'd have to look at the board. I think that you'd have to seriously consider getting another weapon and preparing for life after DeAndre Hopkins and not going into the AFC championship game or AFC divisional game with Zay Flowers is hurt. Bateman's knocked out. You got no weapons on the outside. Not that it cost us that game necessarily, but you can't have enough weapons. And Easy loves Higgins. Yeah, me too. I find it fascinating that people are coming around to him now. Saw some buzz that he might sneak into the first. Steve Smith, former Ravens, released a video on him talking about how much he loves him. We talked about Higgins a lot last week, and he started getting buzz shortly after it. So I put my flag on Higgins early. He's definitely my guy. But yeah, as usual, a deep wide receiver group, all different shapes, sizes, skill sets for those wide receivers. So, guys, that will about do it for today's show. I really appreciate all the comments. And for those that are watching on the replay, feel free to comment, check in. Thank you to Heather for the $10 donation. That was huge, man. I don't know. It just makes me very happy, very proud when I see something like that, that my work's appreciated. That's a big deal to me. So I really appreciate that. Also, I wanted to mention that I will be going on with Sarah and Bobby on the Vault, the second half of their show on Wednesday. So if you guys want to catch me over there, give me a shout out, give me some support. That would be great. Obviously, they have a great show. I'll be on with Alex and Sutton Def on the Purple Rain podcast with the Purple Rain Gang on Thursday evening. I'll be going on with Ken McCusick on Monday night. That's a recorded show. So that'll be after our show on Monday. Got some other stuff coming up. So I'll be up and around and making some appearances on other shows. But yeah, if you guys want to support, feel free to spread the video, share the video. I just really appreciate y'all. Appreciate everything, all the comments. And we'll be back next Monday. Alec Polianis will be back joining us, catching it up as he helps anchor this draft process. Terry, J-Dub, Jim, The Day, Frank, Black, Easy, Heather. Appreciate everybody. Can't go over everybody's name, but appreciate y'all for joining in this show. All the comments were great, very insightful. Once again, love my football family. Thank you guys. Have a good night.